Hello again, it's Aenslee Tanner here. Today, I'd love to talk to you about a topic that comes up very often. I hear from people, especially nowadays, who are worried about being perceived as a job hopper. So I hear people expressing concern quite often that, oh, I've only been in my current role a year, but this other role has come up and I'm really interested in it, but I can't really go for it, right? Because it's going to make me look like, I haven't committed to my previous role or something like that. And I have a lot to say about this, actually, this topic. So that's what I'm going to focus on today. So hopefully it'll help you if you're worried about going for a role that you have your eyes set on, but you're concerned about how long you've spent in your previous role. So first of all, the trends are in your favor in terms of the duration people are spending in roles nowadays. It seems that they are getting shorter and shorter for multiple reasons, but just to put that out there, you're not alone. Lots of people are switching jobs more frequently nowadays than they have in the past. I think perhaps the most important thing I'd like to enlighten you about is the fact that for any hiring manager, their concern is about getting the right person into their role that they have at their organization as soon as possible. They want that role filled. That's why they're advertising it. That's why they've put out there and are calling for applications, right? So their first concern is not how long did you spend in your other role, it's how great of a fit are you for the role that they want filled, okay? So I think that's an important reframe to keep in mind. Now, in terms of I think I'd like to also give you some tactical advice for how you might address this. So if you're afraid, worried about it coming up in, say, an interview, what might you do? And I have basically 3 steps I'd recommend for you if somebody does call you out on the short duration of a previous role or your track record of changing roles frequently. Okay, so keeping in mind that I'm assuming that you have reasons for why you've changed those roles, right? So we just need to couch them to your interviewer in an appropriate way. So my 3 steps I'd recommend for you is 1, to first acknowledge the fact that that is the case. So don't get defensive. Don't try to talk your way around it. If you're confronted with somebody asking you, I see you've only spent, say, 3 months in your last role. All you have to do is acknowledge that, okay? Step 2 would be to provide a brief explanation. And by brief, I mean literally a sentence or 2, very brief, but just to give them a little bit of context for the reason for that, for why you've spent that limited amount of time in that role. And 3, don't allow the conversation to linger there. So I would recommend as your 3rd step that you redirect the conversation to something more useful in terms of highlighting your value and strengths and what you're going to bring to that role. Okay, so just off the top of my head, a couple of examples to show you how this formula might work if somebody was to bring this up in an interview. You might say, yes, I've spent the last 3 months in a role in operations, and what that opportunity has provided me with is to let me know exactly how much my heart is in customer service, and I'm longing to get back there as soon as I can. So that's step 1 and step 2. And step 3, to redirect the conversation, might be to say, before this operations role that I took, I spent the last 15 years in customer service, and I even won an award for blah, blah, blah. Just redirect the conversation back to, let me show you the value I have to offer you in this role, right? Another example might be, like, let's say you took, maybe you have a gap even for like maternity leave or something like that. And somebody brings up, there's a gap on your resume, like, where have you been the past 3, 6 months, whatever it might be. You can say, yes, I spent the last 6 months on maternity leave. And prior to that, I was the head of marketing at Acme Corp. And there I XYZ, insert your accomplishments here, right? Redirecting the conversation back to the value that the skills you have, the strengths, the talents, the value you have to offer, past accomplishments, awards, whatever it might be. So that way you've taken control of the conversation and put the focus where you want it to be. To be honest, I mean, if you were to look at my track record, I've changed jobs either within organizations or between organizations a number of times throughout my career. And to be of the dozens, I don't know how many of interviews I've been through in my life, I was only asked that question once to address a reason for why I had changed careers or jobs at the pace that I had. And same as the formula I gave you, I just simply addressed it, saying, explaining that I was on a path to discover a role that fit best with my strengths. And once I had found that was what I was committed to pursuing. So maybe a script that you could use in that kind of an area is, in the past year, I've had the chance to work on a project that exposed me to X technology, business area, issue, whatever it might be. And now my interest is in pursuing that full time. It really sparked an interest or a passion in me, or I've discovered that I really have a talent for this, and that's where I want to focus now in my career going forward. Here's how I've retrained myself, or the skills or qualifications that I'm going to be able to bring to the role here. All right. So hopefully you can start to see the pattern there of how you might be able to handle this if it does come up. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think I'm quoting Wayne Gretzky, if I put it this way. You only miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. So if you want to roll, don't hold yourself back. Go for it. Put your hat in the ring and see what happens. And don't let your previous track record, create this fear that holds you back from going for it. Okay. So I hope that's helpful. I hope that this script helps you feel armed and prepared for how you're going to be able to address this if it comes up in any interviews. And if you have any questions, of course, leave them in the comments. I'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.